Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And today we're going to be going over the Immaterium, or aka the Warp. Before we get into the video, take the wikis with a grain of salt. Also, I do a regular biblical video on Mondays, and the rest is Warhammer 40k content. So, let's go ahead and get started. The Immaterium, also referred to as the Empyrean, the Ether, the Sea of Souls, the Realm of Chaos, Warp Space, or most commonly, the Warp, is an alternate dimension of purely psychic energy that echoes and underlies the familiar four dimensions of the material universe. The Warp is the source of all psychic powers and known instances of so-called sorcery or magic, as well as the home dimension of the powerful entities known as the Chaos Gods and their myriad legions of demonic servants. In fact, the terms chaos and the warp are often used interchangeably by those aware of their existence within the Imperium of man. Superficially, the Immaterium is mankind's solution to the problem of faster-than-light travel. The warp functions as the medium for the FTL interstellar travel, with voidcraft entering it through the use of a warp drive. They then use their own mundane reaction drive systems, an aid of Psychic Navigator, to navigate between its flowing currents of psychic energy, as if they were moving through an ocean. The psychic energy that makes up the Immaterium is believed to be the direct result of the existence of sentience in the universe, and particularly the intelligent species of the Milky Way galaxy. Considered to be a dark reflection of the material universe, the warp is an ocean of chaotic psychic energy, raw emotion given physical form. The Immaterium is also rumored by many cultures, human and Xenos alike, to be the final resting place of souls of the dead, and therefore can be considered the underworld of the Warhammer 40k universe. Warp travel. A void craft enters warp by activating its warp drive, as a starship leaves the material universe and enters a corresponding point in warp space. The ship is then carried along by the tides and currents of the warp, like a pebble in a raging river. After traveling in this fashion for an appropriate time, the void ship uses its warp energy or engines to drop back into real space. Because the material universe and the warp move relative to one another, the void ship appears in a new position several light years from the starting point. This process is called warp jump or hop, and the process of entering or leaving the Immaterium is known as a drop, shift, or translation. Journeys through the warp are usually undertaken in short jumps of up to 4 or 5 light years. Longer jumps are unpredictable and dangerous. The tides of warp space move in complex and inconsistent patterns. And void ships attempting longer hops often end up wildly off course. Were this limitation to apply to all warp travel, then humanity would not have spread throughout the galaxy as it has. It is possible to make long jumps of many light years by steering a void ship in the warp itself, sensing, responding to, and exploiting its currents, and thereby directing the craft towards a corresponding point in the material universe. Only the strain of human mutants, known as navigators, can pilot a craft through the warp in this way. Some individuals are sensitive to the movements of warp space. They can, for example, sometimes tell that a void craft is approaching even before it drops back into the material universe. Human sensitivity to the warp is not generally well developed. However, in a minority of people, this sensitivity is far more finely tuned. These people are known as psychers, and they are able to consciously control and use the energy of the warp to affect the material universe. Navigators possess psychic gifts of a more specialized kind that only allows them to use their powers to actually look into the Imperium without going insane and then use this knowledge to steer their spacecraft through its flowing currents. The Astronomicon and the Warp. The Astronomicon is a psychic homing signal centered upon Terra and directed through the warp by the mind of the Emperor of Mankind. It is powered by the continuous mental concentration of 1,000 human psychers, whose life essences are slowly drained until they die and must be replaced. The Astronomicon cannot be detected in the real universe, only in the warp. It is by means of this signal that the navigators can steer their void ships through the warp over long distances. The Astronomicon signal is strongest close to Terra and the Emperor of Mankind, who is its source, and gets increasingly weaker further away. Makes sense? It extends over a spherical area with a diameter of about 50,000 light years. The Astronomicon does not extend to the extreme fringes of the galaxy, and because Terra is situated in the galactic west, its signal does not reach a massive swath of the eastern part of the galaxy at all. Nor is the extent or strength of the signal consistent. It can at times be blocked by localized disturbances of the energy within the warp itself. Such activity may be compared to hurricanes or storms of a terrestrial weather system and is known as a warp storm. Warp storms may be so bad and so long lasting that the entire star systems are isolated for hundreds of standard years at a time. This is why the Great Crusade had to happen. A warp storm not only obscures the signal of the Astronomicon, it is also dangerous for spacecraft traveling nearby. No spacecraft can venture within a warp storm and expect to survive, although there are tales of miraculous escapes and of starships being thrown to tens of thousands of light years off course. Excuse me? Yeah, sorry. Warp storms are not the only dangers within the warp. There are sentient energies and other immaterial life forms that inhabit it. Creatures formed from and part of the shifting stuff of the warp. Few are friendly, and most are hostile. They are known to mankind as demons. Or daemons, however you want to say it. Both mean the same thing. Okay. Time displacement. The time differences between real space and warp spaces are quite drastic. Not only does time pass at different rates in both kinds of space, but it also passes at variable rates. Until a starship finishes its jump, it is impossible for a vessel's crew to know exactly how long their journey has taken in real space. Time passing in real space is referred to as real time. Time passing on board spacecraft in the Immaterium is referred to as warp time. Simple. The relationship between real time and warp time is shown on the chart above. So this chart right here. Okay. For example, a 100 light year jump will seem to take from 2.5 to 9.5 solar hours to the crew of a vessel in the warp. But between 3 solar days and 3 solar weeks will have actually passed in real space. These times do not include the journey times out to and from the mandeville points within each star system before a warp translation can begin or end. It can take solar days to weeks of travel at sublight speed to reach a mandeville point, and similar time to re-enter a new star system from the destination mandeville point. The Immaterium is approximately 75,000 light years from edge to edge. A journey of this length could take between 75 to 300 solar days in subjective warp time, and between 6 and 40 Terran years in real space. All right, so we're going to move to the biblical side of things now. All right, so we're going to be talking, like chaos, we have a land of darkness, right? Of darkness itself, it says. So we're going to see this. Job 10:22. a land of darkness, as darkness itself, and of the shadow of death. Ready? Without any order, sounds like chaos or the warp, right? Or immaterium. And where the light is as darkness. Okay, interesting. 2 Peter 3:8. Now we're going to address this time stuff, like, here, time displacement, right? How it could be, 2.5, 9.5, or 9.5 hours on the crew, the vessel, but in reality, I think it was like 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Yeah, 3 solar weeks. So 2 Peter 3:8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. So 1,000 years is passing on the earth, right? Or where we're at, and where God's at, it's only been a day. Interesting. So Job 24:17. For the morning is to them as, or even as the shadow of death. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. So there's these terrors that are in the shadow of death, right? Entities and all kinds of stuff, right? Maybe even darkness storms, or chaos storms and warp storms. Interesting. So Psalms 23:4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Now he's entering into this, right? I will fear no evil. So there's evil there. What is this evil? And it's the terrors, or not that one. The terrors of the shadow of death. For thou art with me, and thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So Job 38:17. There's gates, these portals that opened up to this place, this land of darkness, right? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? And we're going to get into the warp gates here. But anyways, Matthew 16:18. So now these doors are preventing these evil, these terrors from the darkness, right? And it's preventing them from coming onto the earth. So Matthew 16:18. And I say also unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. Ready? And the gates, the portals of hell shall not prevail against it. Interesting. All right, so now we're going to get into warp gates. Get back into Warhammer 40K. A warp gate is a point in real space which is linked to another point in real space by a tunnel through the warp. And real quick, actually, but in the book of Enoch, Enoch goes through this tongue of fire, and then it goes to the New Jerusalem, which has portals, which has kind of like a oh my goodness, what is that called? The Eldar ships, Craft World. So it's kind of like that, where it's got this this gate there. I mean, it's not a warp gate, but still. Anyways, okay, the tunnel somehow avoids the normal disturbances of the Immaterium, allowing a journey to be made within a fixed time and perfect safety. The existence of warp gates represents something of a mystery, and much debate rages over whether they are natural or artificial. If artificial, then none can say who made them or for what purpose. Furthermore, some warp gates have been artificially enhanced, their entrances delineated by mechanical constructions whose exact functions can only be guessed at. Other warp gates are mere black holes in space. Warp gates, often in the depths of space, at the boundaries of star systems, within star systems, and even on planets. The largest are easily big enough to permit the passage of a spacecraft and are usually situated at the edge of a star system or amongst its outer planets. Other gates are only large enough to permit the passage of small vehicles, or perhaps human-sized creatures. These occur mostly on planet surfaces and lead directly to other gates on the surfaces of other planets. All gates are rare, the smaller types extremely so. Planetary gates are often disguised or respond only to electrical, psychic, or other signals, which would seem to indicate a certain amount of intended secrecy on the part of their builders. Okay. We'll go to the warp portals here for a little bit. A warp portal is a point in space where the warp and real space interface, forming a stable entrance into and exit from the warp. It is not necessary to activate a warp drive to enter into warp in this manner, although any vessels not equipped with a Geller field will be unlikely to survive for long within the Imperium. So there you guys go. We got the Immaterium, and then we got the land of darkness, right? In the Bible. So we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you guys for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day.